Every Tuesday morning, exactly at 7:30, Grace Collins opened her small flower shop in Charleston, South Carolina. She loved flowers because they never lied. Roses showed love, lilies carried peace, sunflowers always carried hope. For 3 months, something unusual happened. Every Tuesday before the shop opened, someone left one fresh sunflower on her doorstep. No note, no name, no footprints, just a single sunflower. At first, Grace thought it was a mistake. Then it became a mystery she secretly looked forward to every week. She even started arriving earlier, hoping to catch the stranger. But every Tuesday, the flower appeared, and no one was there. Across town lived Ethan Brooks, a quiet 34-year-old carpenter. A year earlier, Ethan had lost his fiancée in a car accident. Since then, he rarely smiled. One afternoon, while walking through Charleston, he noticed Grace helping an elderly woman choose flowers she couldn't afford. Grace quietly paid the difference herself without expecting anything in return. Ethan never forgot that moment. He wanted to thank her somehow, but he was too shy to introduce himself. So every Tuesday morning before sunrise, he left a sunflower at her door, not to impress her, simply to remind one kind person that kindness is always seen. One rainy Tuesday, Grace decided to hide inside the shop before dawn. At exactly 6:45 a.m., she saw a tall man gently place a sunflower by the door. Before he could walk away, she opened it. "Excuse me?" He froze. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bother you." Grace picked up the sunflower and smiled. "You didn't bother me. You gave me something to smile about every Tuesday." They walked to a nearby cafe. For hours they talked about life, favorite books, old dreams, and quiet mornings. Neither of them noticed the rain had stopped. From that day on, Ethan no longer left flowers anonymously. Instead, every Tuesday they shared breakfast together before work. Weeks became months. Grace slowly discovered the sadness Ethan carried. Ethan slowly discovered that Grace had her own hidden pain. She had spent years caring for her younger brother after losing both parents. She had forgotten what it felt like to let someone else take care of her. One evening, they walked along Charleston Harbor as the sun disappeared into the ocean. Grace looked at Ethan. "You know, I used to think the sunflower was my favorite flower." Ethan smiled. "And now?" She gently took his hand. "Now my favorite part of Tuesday is you." For the first time in over a year, Ethan laughed without forcing it. Spring arrived. One morning, Grace unlocked her flower shop and found something different. Instead of one sunflower, hundreds of sunflowers filled the sidewalk. Friends, neighbors, and customers stood smiling. In the middle of the flowers was Ethan. He slowly walked toward her. When I first left a sunflower here, I hoped to brighten one morning. You ended up changing my whole life." He knelt down and opened a small velvet ring box. "Grace Collins, will you let every Tuesday for the rest of our lives begin together?" Grace couldn't hold back her tears. She whispered, "Yes." The crowd applauded. A little girl handed Grace one final sunflower. She smiled and placed it in Ethan's hands. Years later, every Tuesday morning, people walking through Charleston still noticed a sunflower hanging beside the entrance of their flower shop. Below it was a small wooden sign. "Love doesn't always arrive with grand words. Sometimes it quietly leaves a sunflower at your door." And every Tuesday, Grace smiled at that sunflower, remembering that the greatest love story of her life had begun with a flower and a stranger who never expected anything in return.